Hello, and in the next thrilling instalment of the 100 Greatest Artists of All Time, according to me, we are at the E's. The first band beginning with an E is Echo and the Bunnymen. Echo and the Bunnymen are a post-punk band from Liverpool who, apart from a little break in the middle where they briefly split up, have actually been around since 1978, which is very shortly after the UK punk revolution had come about. It had broken through in London first, punk, and it had become a national scene. Liverpool has always been a music city and quickly became one of the hotspots for post-punk and new wave. And it was centred on a club called Eric's, which has a legendary reputation. I believe a new version of Eric's is around even now. Part of the ethos of punk was making your own music and forming bands with people of like mind. Well, the first band, which Ian McCulloch was in, the lead singer of Echo and the Bunnymen, the first band he was in, was formed at Eric's with a couple of like-minded people. It was called the Crucial Three. It was a band with Ian McCulloch, Pete Wiley, who later found fame with War Heat, and Julian Cope, who broke through with Teardrop Explodes and is in fact still making music in his own right. Little surprise actually that this band never really made it. It was like a football team with three centre forwards, three big personalities. They were never. The balance was all wrong. McCulloch was the first to recognise this, or was he pushed? Either way, he quickly formed a new band all of his own before 1978 was up. He brought into his ranks a guitarist, Will Sargent, who's the only ever present member of Echo and the Bunnymen. His angular, jagged guitar is a key element in the Bunnymen sound. Les Pattinson played bass, not to be confused with Sir Les Patterson, the Barry Humphries comedy character. The band didn't yet have a drummer, so they made do with a drum machine. There was always a story going around that the drum machine was the Echo in the name, Echo of the Bunnymen, but I believe that's a myth, fake news. Their first single came out in the middle of 1979, Pictures on My Wall, a great track straight away. It's a blend of post-punk, nods to Joy Division, but also they made quite a lot of nods to the psychedelic rock of the United States from the 60s. They've been compared with the Doors. The comparison made all the stronger by the fact that they did do a number of Doors covers in their lifetime. The first album quickly followed 1980, produced by a guy called Bill Drummond, who'd later go on to be more famous as a member of the KLF. By now, after one malfunction too many with the drum machine at a live gig, they brought in a real drummer, the Trinidadian-born Pete DeFreitas. Reviews were good. The album made number 17. The first single from the album, Rescue, produced by Ian Brody, later the Lightning Seeds, just made number 62, however. But those were the halcyon days when people made records every year. So it was no surprise that the next album came out just 1 year later, in 1981. Heaven Up Here was same blueprint, more of the same, but even better. it made the top 10. Critics loved it. The hit single was still elusive at that stage. A Promise, for example, great track, reached just number 49. Nonetheless, although they didn't sell by the bucket load, these first two albums remain my favourite two Bunnymen albums. They did finally make the charts soon after, when they released as a standalone single at the time, The Back of Love, which in 1982, which made the top 20. Swiftly followed by The Cutter, which went top 10. These tracks were later included on the third album, Porcupine, along with Never Stop, a hat trick of top 20 hits. The band cultivated a moody image. McCulloch in particular was known for wearing long coats, even when it was summer. Later they took to wearing army camouflage, which their fans aped. On one memorable occasion, they were doing a secret gig in the countryside in Derbyshire, and so dozens of young men in army gear turned up, aping their heroes, aping the dress of their heroes of Bunnymen. Locals didn't know what was going on. They thought they were being invaded by paramilitaries. Anyhow, live, the hip young gunslingers of the music press of the day praised the atmospheric use they made of lighting. I didn't like it. When I first saw the band live, I could barely see them. They were in half light. How can a band fully engage with an audience when you've got to peer through half light to even see them? Mind you, the truth is, McCulloch struggled to see you too. He was short-sighted and he was too vain to wear glasses. Ian McCulloch, aka Mac the Mouth, was never too far from an outrageous quote. The lead-off single for the next album, The Ocean Rain, was a track called Killing Moon. It reached number 9. McCulloch describes it as the greatest song of all time. It's a very good song, but greatest track of all time? Really? He made similarly bold claims for the Ocean Rain album in 1984, saying it was the greatest album ever made. Most people probably put it as the best album of Echo and the Bunnymen's career, but I'm not most people. It reached number 4, it yielded 2 top 30 singles, but despite the progression of using lush orchestrations, I still don't think it's nearly as good as the first 2 albums. Anyhow, after this, they did take the foot off the proverbial gas. McCulloch did a solo album, and Pete the Freitas left for a while, and it was 3 years before the 5th album arrived, and I think they'd run out of ideas as to what they should call this 5th album. They just called it Echo and the Bunnymen. It's one of their lesser regarded works in the UK. Still went to number 4 though, and strangely enough in the US it was their bestseller, albeit it only made number 51. I think the reason the United States were suddenly buying Echo and the Bunnymen albums was some of their songs had been used in film soundtracks such as The Breakfast Club and Donnie Darko. Now, however, personal tragedy began to strike and hit the band. McCulloch had drink problems and exacerbated because of the loss of his dad, and he left the band in 1988. And in 1989, De Freitas had a fatal motorbike crash. Much to McCulloch's disgust, that didn't mean the end of the band at the time. The Survivors did an album with a new singer. Echo and the Bogus Men, as some cruelly labelled this new band without McCulloch or De Freitas. McCulloch, the band did, however, disband in 1993. McCulloch then did have a reconciliation after a brief while with Will Sargent, and they formed a band together. Originally it wasn't called Echo and Bunnymen, it was called Electric Fiction. But then they realised they weren't selling all that many records as Electric Fiction, so their second album, doing pretty much the same type of music, they called themselves Echo and Bunnymen. And hey presto, they started having hits again. The album made the top 10, and a surprise hit from the period, a song called Nothing Lasts Forever, made it number 8, equal to The Killing Moon. They found a new generation of fans who not heard of them first time round. Pattinson has left the group again, but Echo and Bunnymen continue to release new albums at regular intervals. They continue to tour. The glory days are behind them, but they always sell respectably, and they are respected. Echo and Bunnymen, I salute you.